Our report is found on page 178. I'm going to trust that you have read that report, you understand it. Many of you have visited the booth. And what I'd like to do is kind of share something that we've had as a practice in our family. There have been different times through the years that we have had family meetings. Sometimes they come when we were heading on vacation or planning a vacation. We get together and we talk about it. We talk about what each wanted to do, who would be responsible for certain items, and how to prepare. We had family meetings when we had a grandparent that was dying, and we talk about the reality of it, what this means, what we'll have to do. We had a family meeting when my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and we talked about the responsibilities and what had to take place. There are good meetings and there were tough meetings. And I suspect in your family, you have similar family meetings. Today, I'm asking that we have a family meeting, that we get together and we just have the hard talks of where we are, what we're doing, and ask for your input and your direction, because D6 Family Ministry is your ministry and we serve at your pleasure. Today, I'm calling for us to think through some tough issues. As we look at where we are, what I'm going to do is go ahead and place on the screen all of the items that we currently do. And I'm going to talk through our mission statement. Our mission statement, you know it well, we serve both the church and the home. Our goal is to provide resources and training for the church and disciple people in the congregation for the home. Our mission statement, you know it well, is we build believers through church and home. Our goal is to serve at your pleasure. I want to emphasize that over and over in my report. We help you build believers through church and home. And in doing so, we do not need to exist if you do not need us. I want to emphasize that over and over. I want to give you a little publishing context here. Our board members are very aware of this. I share updates in the industry with them on a regular basis, but I want this to kind of raise the warning over where we've been. The publishers that you see up here on the board, I think you will recognize all of them are known to you. And I'm going to walk through each one of their stories. Lifeway, as an example in here, when I came to Randall House, I had about 1,700 contacts that I knew worked for Randall House, worked for Lifeway, and they owned about 2 city blocks. They had a skyscraper, another sizable building, and their flagship bookstore downtown off of Broadway. You see the beginning of the implosion of that building because they sold it back in 2015, and they built a 277,000 square foot building that you see right here. It's a 7-story building. They did not occupy this very long. They faced some challenges, and in 2022 they sold that building, and now they have a building that is slightly smaller in square footage than D6 Family Ministry. General Baptist have Stinson Press, and Stinson Press is a publisher much like our story. They represented a smaller denomination, but in their decline down to about 800 churches, now they no longer produce all the ages of their own curriculum. They resell 8 other publishers' curriculum, and therefore they've lost their denominational distinctives. The next one is David C. Cook. They had a long-standing CEO, Chris Dornbos. He left in 2017, and since then, they have had 3 CEOs, each trying to rescue the organization and change their strategic outlook. Nazarene Publishing House. The Nazarene Board of Superintendents voted to shut down the Nazarene Publishing House in 2014 After 4 years and some work, they saw the error and realized they had lost their identity. They reorganized and reopened under the name of the Foundry Press or Foundry Publishing. They had lost significant momentum. They had lost their facilities. They lost many of their people and their assets. I do not want to see D6 Family Ministries go the way many of these publishers have gone, and I don't think we do either. You say, what are we facing? It's a matter of income and inflation for us. I want to just talk plain talk here in this family setting, if we could, as we look at our 2023 financials. Here's an image I think most of you will recognize, the gas pump. And looking at the gas pump, I think a lot of you looked at that in your drive to Tampa. If you flew, you were certainly gassing up in the last week or two. But you can remember the gas costs. At the beginning of 2020, we paid an average of $1.93. In 2022, at the height of it, we had $5.02 for gas. That translates into, look at what it would cost to fill. I have an 18-gallon tank. I went from $34 to $90. More recently, the gas prices have certainly come down to $3.56, but $64 is still nearly double what it was in 2020. And that's not the only place we've seen inflation. I don't need to tell you, but you've seen it in the grocery store. When you go for fast food costs what a restaurant meal would have cost several years ago. You can't go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A without spending $10 a person pretty easily. And if you decided that you wanted to go to Five Guys, you need to have Five Guys paycheck to pay for it. We have dramatically had these increases affect our ministries. Let me give you one more here. Let's talk about lumber. Some of you know I've been an amateur woodworker and love working with wood. And I track very closely the price of 2x4s as the staple good. Kind of like when you go to a restaurant, you measure a Chinese restaurant based on General Tso's chicken or whatever your favorite is at any ethnic restaurant that you go to. Well, I measured the price of lumber against 2x4s. In 2019, Lowe's and Home Depot sold them for $2.40 a piece. At the height of the pandemic, they sold for $9.89. You say, why in the world are you talking to me about the price of lumber? Let me give you a comparison. Let's look at paper cost. There's a rising paper cost. Lumber is paper. And when you saw the price of 2x4s jump from $2 to $9, that meant every time we purchased a truckload of paper, our paper cost had gone up proportionately. And we don't just buy a bundle of paper, we buy a truckload of paper multiple times a year. We were paying exorbitant prices for paper and still delivering our products to you during the pandemic without matching the raise of prices that matched the raise of the cost of paper. During that same period of time, however, our budget was dramatically altered. We went from that same period that I just discussed, paper cost, we lost $500,000 because our churches were hurting. You had dropped in attendance. Some of you had stopped meeting. That's all certainly expected. So we looked hard and we cut out of our budget $685,000. We cut as much as we could in personnel without affecting our core mission because we wanted to emerge on the other side of the difficulty, still able to deliver product to you and the services that you have come to know and appreciate. Certainly the loss is a reflection of inflation and income, but let me explain it in a couple more ways that might be pretty straightforward. When we see the loss of churches that Dr. Moody has reported, I'm going to place the same numbers on the screen that he did. So this is a bit of a repeat, but I think it's worthy of resharing because it tells our story too. If you look at all 5 years, from 2019 through 2023, that's a total of 240 churches. Now, I've been guilty of saying something that probably some of you have said. I suspect most of you are more diplomatic than I. But I have been guilty in the past as a pastor of saying, if these churches close their doors, we won't miss them. They're a church of 15, 20, 30 people. They weren't supporting IM. They weren't supporting NAM. They weren't supporting Welch and so forth. Here's what I've come to realize. These 30-member churches, they were spending on average of $175 of curriculum. So as soon as I got in the role I'm in now, I realized the small churches, they make a significant difference. They do matter. And when you lose 240 of them, that results in $1.2 million loss just in the curriculum that we've lost over these churches. Let's take this to another level. Let's look at a bar chart here. You will see the loss that I've referred to in curriculum. And the loss is not just the 1.2, but we add with it, most of our churches dropped in attendance of about 10% in the last 4 to 5 years. Your offerings did not go down, but your attendance went down. As a result, you ordered fewer pieces of curriculum. The combination of ordering fewer pieces of curriculum and these loss of churches give us curriculum losses of $1.8 million. We have V3 losses, vertical 3. I can walk you through a year by year, and as accurately as Dr. Moody has talked about convention prices, we know exactly what we're going to pay for a facility. But when we get on site, there's the incidentals that they jump up and surprise you with that you cannot cover in a contract, and you find out at the last minute, here's how much the meals are going to be. Here's how much, and this was the surprise this year, here's how much you will be charged for electricity every time we see people plugging into the plugs in the various rooms. And we're talking in excess of $30,000 to $40,000. And they have a way to monitor that. So you can see our losses there for vertical 3 was $336,000 for a total loss over this period of time of $2.1 million. You say, but you got PPP money and ERC money. That's the bar chart at the bottom. You can see there's a disparity between what we received and what we lost. Therefore, we launched our development program and said, we can no longer be viewed as a business, which we've never been. We have always been a not-for-profit. But we do sell something. Just like any private college or public college or Christian college sells something, but we still have to underwrite the difference, especially the various ministries that we do. And we launched a development program, and we raised this past year $95,000. Still a gap between what our expenses are and what our income is for where we're going. So here's where we are. We are not looking for you simply to jump in the gap and make up the difference. We are going to cut. We have continuously looked at places that we manage the funds very carefully. We do not assume that just because we have a ministry or a program in effect today, it needs to stay in effect. There are shelf lives to things. And sometimes things need to go away, and that's okay. But we do not want to let something go away that you value. And that's part of our family meeting today, because we're going to ask you about that. We have trimmed people. We have trimmed departments. We have trimmed expenses. And when we get back from this convention, our leadership team is going to sit down and evaluate more cuts, deeper cuts, evaluating each one of our programs and our ministries and deciding which ones we can continue and which ones cannot continue on for various reasons. We have acquired some areas that have helped us bring more income or more potential business. We've installed some software that will help us become more effective in our marketing and our sales. We're doing everything that we know to be doing during this period of time. Let me give you a story. There was a development banquet that was thrown, and people gathered to eat. And this organization stood and they cast their vision. And the people sitting in the room were very much like the people sitting here in this business session. They loved the organization. They cheered, they supported, they talked about, they gave verbal endorsement. Many of them gave financially to this organization. And in this fundraising development dinner, this banquet, the leader stood up and shared about all the different ministries that this organization was doing. And they said, we thank you for supporting. Today is Pledge Day. We're going to collect pledges. They collected the pledges. And they took in the pledges, and they had dinner. And the leader came back, and he says, I want to thank every one of you for supporting. But I wanted to let you know that your support and your commitments did not fully fund everything that we laid out. And even though you verbally said you loved all that we're doing, we're asking you to tell us how we are out of alignment with what you visualize our support being. I believe that's where we are with D6 Family Ministries. We want to be fully in alignment with that which you support, that which you cheer for, and we're willing to make those cuts. We just need to hear it from you. We need to know from you what matters, what we need to look at. And if you say this really matters, we need you not only to be our cheerleaders, but we need you to be our funders and our supporters. As we look at our heroes who made a difference over this past year, I'm listing 2023 results. We have the top 10 churches listed up here that have given to us, and I want to say a great big thank you. We have the top 10 giving individuals listed up here for our ministry, and I want to say thank you for that. We have the top states. Now I want to be very clear. If you give to Co-op, we receive 4.5% of Co-op. So we receive money from all states contributing to Co-op. But I want to say thank you to Oklahoma for including us above and beyond Co-op in a designated way. And then we have organizations who have given to us. And I must pause here as David Brown has just given his report. Every year, the Free Will Baptist Foundation has done something to contribute to D6 Family Ministry, their grant, operational gift. 2023 was an odd exclusion. They had a tough year, we had a tough year. It's the only year we did not receive something from them, but I wanted to say thank you to the foundation because any other year they would be listed right here. And we cannot say thank you enough for being one of our heroes. Let me go a step further with where we are. I want to remind us that we have various ministries. They're going to be populating up here on the screen. I'm going to go through the first line, CTS, Truth and Peace Yet, and Buck a Week, and stop there. Vertical 3 is a massive ministry that we call Heart and Soul, but we lose money on it every single year. You say you charge for us to come. You charge the competitors. We do. But we don't charge enough because we know your youth groups are out there raising money just to cover the cost of travel to get here. We know you spend a lot of money just to arrive. And we want to be super sensitive about those areas. But remember Dr. Moody's report. He said if a young person participates in E-Team, Yet, Truth and Peace, competition of any sort for multiple years, they are 99% likely to stick with their faith. 85% likely to stick within Free Will Baptists. That's why we call it Heart and Soul. It matters even when we lose money. But we cannot lose the large portions that we're losing and be responsible. And the hotels and the convention centers are the major contributing factor. It's not you. So we are examining all areas of what to do about this. Go to the next level here and we find our books department. When we publish books, certain books make money, certain books do not. But I go back to Heart and Soul, we must publish books on theology and history even though we know they will never make money. Historically, they never have. Academic books, the charge for them is so much higher because the number of sales that you make is so much lower. And then we have all the peripheral ministries like the podcast, Measure What Matters, all the other things that we give away free, like Splink, translation of books, top reads for busy leaders, benevolent ministry. And I want to camp out here for just a moment. If your church ever experiences a fire, a tornado, a hurricane, anything, we will replace your curriculum at no charge. We'll replace every book in the pastor's library that we have in print today, just to try to help you get back on your feet. We've had churches who called us and said, we can't order this time around in this block because we're going through a financial difficulty. And we say, you know what, you can order. You tell us exactly what you need and don't you hold back. And we have filled every order regardless of the circumstances. I will tell you this, one of the churches that was on the list of the top 10 givers was the receiver of that benevolent giving. And then they got on their feet and now they're one of our top givers. They've become very healthy. They're in a good place. I can tell you this too, that I had a pastor come to me after the general board and he said, my wife was in CTS. Because she was in CTS, she went to a music camp. Because she went to a music camp, she found out about Truth and Peace. When she went to Truth and Peace, she found out about Welch, and she went to Welch, and that's why we're married. These are the differences that we're making in what we're doing. You heard from one of our chaplains last night. We love supporting our chaplains. We love doing training. If a chaplain needs something, we're not going to charge them. If you need training, we're not going to ask if you can cover our expenses to come to your church and train. We're just going to come because that's what we do. But to do all these things, we really do have to have support. And so you can be one of the ones who cheers for the vision, but you can also be one of the ones who supports the vision. There's a QR code I'm going to place on the screen, but we're going to go a step further. We have Truth and Peacers, and we have alumni from Truth and Peace. We have alumni from YET and CTS that are passing out hero cards right now. We need both, but for our future, we'll look very different if we don't have supporters. So right now, you're about to receive one of these cards. And I'm going to ask if you would take time to pray about filling it out, committing to support one of the ministries that you have seen your family benefit from. If you've had a person in your church benefit from CTS, competition, Truth and Peace, whatever, I want you to consider passing that forward, making a difference. I give to Operation Christmas Child because somebody once asked me to give to Operation Christmas Child. I've always loved doing the Christmas boxes. Our family would do them. We'd pack a box. But somebody asked one time, would you give financially to them? I never thought about doing anything above and beyond the boxes. But each year now, not only do I pack at least 2 boxes, but I give financially to them because somebody asked. I'm asking you today, will you personally give? And will you go back to your church and consider asking your church to place us in your budget in some form or fashion? You can designate it to one of these ministries I've covered today. But if you don't respond, I'm going to look at this as going, hey, they love us. They care about us. But there's certain areas in our organization that can go away. And I'll be okay with that. But I don't want to stop a ministry, come back next year and they said, oh, if I'd only known you were stopping that, we would have supported it. This is your chance to let us know what you think because you're family and we exist to serve you. By the time that our board members are elected, I'm going to ask that you will have filled out this card, turn it face down, and if you can't do it right now and you say, hey, Brother Ron, I'm just going to pray. That's all I can do. You just put, hey, I'm praying for you. I'm okay with that. But I want you to turn it face down and pass it back to the aisle, and the person in the aisle lay it face down in the aisle, and the same people who passed out the cards will collect the cards, and we will take a look at what you say matters for our organization. Thank you for doing that. We're recognizing 2 board members who have served distinguished records and been incredible contributors to our board. And I would ask that Mike Mounts come forward. Mike Mounts, over there, left, right. There we go, come on up here, sir. Join me up here. Thank you. Mike, we have a plaque for you. And a plaque, a piece of wood, does not do service for your contributions. But it says on here, this recognizes Mike Mounts for your commitment to serve on the board of directors from 2012 to 2024. Your commitment to the word, pursuit of discipleship, and commitment to excellence made us stronger. You came to each meeting prepared and ready to discuss the topics at hand regardless of their nature. From strategy, finances, or topics taught with lessons, you would gladly join in the conversation and contribute thoughtful dialogue. You were never hesitant to ask questions as your inquisitive mind sought answers. On behalf of our denomination who elected you to serve, we are grateful for your influence and the impact on D6 team members, along with every pastor who cares about evangelism and discipleship, as we seek to fulfill our mission of helping you build believers through church and home. Thank you for your distinguished service. I'd like to present this.
Good deal, thank you. I've got a bag for you right here, okay? For you to tuck it in and travel. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
appreciate you. Take care. I'm going to ask Mike Trimble to come forward. Mike, it says the same intro, but very different paragraph. I'm going to step forward to the microphone. D6 Family Ministry recognizes Mike Trimble for your commitment to serve on the board of directors from 2010 until 2024. You were elected to serve on our board and then later elected by your peers as chairman. During that time, especially as chairman, your counsel, leadership, and boldness brought a practical and principled approach to policy, finances, and strategy. You brought refinements to the practices and policies of how our board operates to make it better. Your wisdom and counsel were invaluable when you spoke, people listened, and outcomes were affected. On behalf of our denomination who elected you to serve, we're grateful for your influence and impact on the D6 family team members, along with every pastor who cares about evangelism and discipleship as we seek to fulfill the mission of helping you build believers through church and home. Your example and your voice will definitely be missed. Thank you for your distinguished service. Thank you, friend.
Thank you, man. Very, very much.